When I think back to the exhibition now, we only just got to do it barely by the skin of our teeth. COVID-19 was looming, and there was talk of a student having tested positive in Trinity College, which was right beside Clare Street, where the exhibition was being held, in what was Green's old bookshop. We couldn't find any sanitiser in any of the shops nearby for us to use, but Tony managed to get his hands on a spray for a ridiculous amount of money. But we all used it only now and then, when we remembered to. There was no sense of urgency, as there is now, to be using the hand sanitiser, or if we were faced with the same shortage. It really was so nice to have so many of our peers and colleagues and friends, as well as people we had never met before, attending the opening night of the exhibition. A few people have said to us since that was their last social outing before lockdown, which is mad really when you think about everything that's happened in the meantime. Over the course of those 3 days that the exhibition was running, we had so many people stopping by that we knew, those we didn't, friends, family, colleagues. Some people just walked in off the street, and a lot of the time those were actually the best ones because they were just taken by surprise. What was there just happened to be passing, thought they'd stick their head in and see. It was nice. In general, there was a very overwhelmingly positive response to the exhibition itself. The look of it, which was especially thanks to Ruby and Connor in Design Factory, but mostly the feel of it and the stories that were being told by the people attending, and also by the objects themselves. This is the Irish Global Solidarity in 100 Objects podcast, which is going to do just that. Tell these stories, the stories behind the objects. The exhibition itself was in part inspired by an exhibition curated in the British Library, A History of the World in 100 Objects, and similarly, A History of Ireland in 100 Objects, curated by An Post, the Irish Times, the National Museum of Ireland and the Royal Irish Academy. Mostly, however, Irish Global Solidarity in 100 Objects was inspired by stories. Ireland it's a small country. We've had quite a considerable impact on the world that we live in. We wanted to tell the stories of Ireland's history of solidarity, a perhaps previously undocumented history of change from within Ireland, a history of our activism. So many of these stories go untold or get forgotten, and that was our inspiration for this. For our first episode, I spoke with Kevin Squires of the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Kevin joined the IPSC in 2002 and over the years has held various roles in the organisation, from local branch delegate to national secretary, and is now the national coordinator. He's travelled to Palestine several times, but unfortunately due to the Israel-imposed ban on the entry of leading members of the IPSC to Palestine, he has been indefinitely prevented from seeing any friends or colleagues in Palestine. Outside of any Palestinian-related activism, for about 20 years or so, Kevin's been involved in social, economic, international justice campaigns, anti-fascism, anti-war movements, anything from Western Sahara to water charges here in Ireland. When we put the call out for objects initially to be included in the exhibition, there was a number of people who submitted not just one object but quite a few, and Kevin was one of those people who submitted a number of objects for the exhibition. Today we're specifically chatting about one, but if you look on the website developmenteducation.ie/100 objects, if you scroll down you'll see a couple of other objects that were submitted by Kevin in the IPSC also. But today we're going to chat about the full page ad the IPSC took out in the Irish Times in 2009 in the midst of an unprecedented assault on the Gaza Strip.
My name is Kevin Squires. I'm National Coordinator of the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign. I stand for the human, national, democratic and economic rights of all people. But in particular, for me, this means advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people, rights that have been denied them for the past 73 years.
Thank you. That gives us a brief insight. So your object was a full-page ad that was in the Irish Times, and funnily enough, I only realised today when I was looking at it again, is that it was published almost 12 years ago to the day. So it was the 31st of January that it was published, and today is the 26th of January. So It's just that
Yeah,
was a funny coincidence.
way
But
to
yeah,
make me feel old.
tell me about it. So yeah, it was called the Irish Call for Justice for Palestine. So would you like to tell us a bit more about it, how it came about, and some of the context behind all of that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'll start with like the background to it. Really, as you said, it's 12 years ago, but sometimes it feels like yesterday.
I
So,
know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
but then there are people around, young people that were like 10, 11 then, so they probably have no idea of kind of the context other
Mm.
than something ephemeral in their mind or something. On the 27th of December 2008, uh, just a couple of days after Christmas, Israeli occupation forces launched like a massive assault on Gaza. And now Gaza, for those who don't know, is a part of Palestine. It's a small kind of enclave on the coast, um, that's kind of separated from the West Bank, and by that stage had been under a kind of a military and economic blockade for like about a year and a half at that stage. And this assault began on the 27th of December, and this assault saw around 1,300 Palestinians, the vast majority of them civilians, including 300 children, killed in the space of 3 weeks. So, I mean, the assault eventually ended on I think it was the 16th or the 18th of January. Yeah, it was just it was a pretty intense time
That's
in terms
exactly
of
how
like,
I remember
yeah,
it, just being so intense.
yeah, I mean, like it was really like an unprecedented assault in the long history of Palestine and Israel. There had been like lots of colonial violence and anti-colonial violence and so on, but like this mass assault on like a besieged people of 2 million people that are just essentially trapped in this small space was, yeah, totally unprecedented. Like it's one of the most densely populated areas of the world. That's kind of like the immediate background to it, to like the political background, if you like, to
Yeah,
what
it's
was
the
going on.
incident itself.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just looking. I was looking back earlier this morning through kind of all the press releases and stuff that we sent out during this time, and like it struck me like I'm distanced from it now, right? 12 years.
Yeah.
But at the time, like there was just so much going on and I wasn't really processing stuff. So, there were protests all over the world, but all over Ireland too, like from, obviously Dublin and Cork and Galway and
Yeah.
Belfast, but like, and Derry, but, like places like Leitrim, Donegal, Omagh, Lurgan. Sure, there's others that I'm forgetting, but, there was just like this really intense period of activity.
I think that's one thing that actually is why it sticks out in my mind so much is because of the reaction to it. Like at the time, like the assault itself was horrendous, but people who, friends of mine and people I know, people through social media who previously I would have always thought was never kind of that kind of engaged, I suppose, in issues like this. Everybody was reacting to it and everybody was saying, what do I do? What can I do? There's nothing we can do. And there was all these arguments breaking out online because it's such a polarizing issue and because, people were seeing innocent people being hurt and killed and children, and the reaction from people was so strong. I think that's why it stands out in my mind so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was certainly like there was a run of days like between the 20th to 28th, so like the day after, and the first, where there was something on, sometimes two or three things on in Dublin every single day.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
incredible.
it was really crazy. And I said, like, I'd forgotten that until I started going through these things. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. So like there was the sad and striking thing when I was going through those press releases is every day would have a death toll, because they
Yeah.
were going out to the media, and it was, like 140, 320, 410, 600, 1,000, and eventually like 1,380, or the final number is disputed, but it's in around 1,300, 1,400. So yeah, just like horrific. They're just numbers on a sheet, but like they're all people, you know.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I think that's the stuff that sticks with me is I remember seeing people posting photographs of the people who had been killed, and like that, like their families, they're normal people going about their day to day lives as best they can, and then this stuff is happening. And I think the fact that yes, people can become jaded by numbers, but the fact that those pictures were so widely published got that reaction and stirred something in everyone. Like it got to everyone, you know.
Yeah, I mean that definitely that was the feeling we had. Like there was mass support for the Palestinian people, solidarity with them. You know, I mean, whatever diplomatic and political intricacies, I think people could just see what was happening here. That a really well-armed military force was basically conducting a massacre on mainly civilians. It really wasn't lost on people. And, you know, as you say, like the images, being and press releases can say whatever they want, but like images really do speak volumes. Yeah, I mean, even like the protests in Dublin, that like there was a lot, but there was one big one on the 3rd of January, which had several thousand people at it. Went all around the city, went from like Central Bank to the EU office on Walter Street, down to the Dáil, then back across the river to the GPO. Along the way, we had a die-in on O'Connell Bridge. It was just, you know, looking back at it now, I'm just like, wow. I mean, I can't believe we did all that. You know, we had so little resources and all that. Like, there was just like so much anger in our society about this. You know, so
yeah. So I suppose to go back to the actual ad itself.
Yeah.
Like, how did that come about, and how did you go? Where did you start? I suppose.
Basically, once the kind of the big demonstrations and all that had kind of happened, and it became clear as we got into the middle of January, or early to mid-January, that there was going to be some class of a ceasefire. You know, it was really just a question of how many more people would die before this was politically
any sort of intervention.
Yeah, well, not that there was any sort of intervention, because there kind of wasn't really. I mean, you know, just that it became politically unsustainable for this to go on. So, you know, a ceasefire was essentially negotiated. But, you know, but even before there was a ceasefire, like the actions had kind of moved from the large-scale mobilizations to more like boycott, divestment, and sanctions focused protests, so smaller scale, but like people going into the shops, filling up trolleys with like Israeli products or products of companies that are complicit in the occupation of Palestine, and bringing them up and saying, you know, like, why are you stocking these kind of stuff? You know, all very small and symbolic. But I think it was also like showing that people were willing, you know, that they weren't just interested in being on the streets, that they were looking for avenues to kind of direct.
It's almost like, okay, now we've done the marches, what's the next step? Where can we put the pressure now, you know?
Exactly, yeah. As part of that, kind of our response was like, well, how there is all this anger and there's people looking for stuff to do. So how can we get a message out to them that this is what Palestinians are calling for you to do, is to engage in these kind of boycott activities, and also a message to the Irish government that we really believe that their response was not adequate to what we were demanding, what people in general were demanding. You know, like the Irish government's response was basically equivocation and like on both this narrative of both sides and calling for restraint from both sides, and, you know, like I think calling, you know, like it basically equating the violence of the oppressor and the resistance of the oppressed. It's kind of, I don't know, calling for like restraint in that situation. It's kind of like calling on, you know, I don't know, like a porcupine or something to show restraint while it's being attacked by, you know, a wolf or something. This was actually the dying days of the Bush administration, so just before Obama came in.
Oh my God, now I really do feel old.
Yeah. So we thought like that really the way to reach most people was to take out an ad in the paper. But we also knew that we couldn't afford like an ad in like that was a page 5, I think, full page, black and white. Back then it costs €25,000. I'm not sure what it costs now.
Janie.
Yeah, I know. Basically, you
just started reaching out to people, did you?
Yeah, well, like we're like, how can we fund this? And we're like, well, what if we just ask people to put everyone's name will go in it, and it like A, that will show the depth and breadth of the support, and B, it will help fund it. You know, so then it was just basically like this another chaos, but a different type of like chaos and frenetic energy, trying to like to get people out. So, you know, just like emailing our supporter base, putting it out on like in the media and stuff like that was active back then. Just people like word of mouth, kind of people telling their friends or whatever. And yeah, like in the end, we got like, and we basically were asking people to pay €100, I think it was, for their name to appear. In the end, we got like 350 people to sign up,
Amazing.
which is really amazing. Yeah, like, and this was all done in like I think it was a week and a half or something like that. Like some crazy small.
I was just going to say that's some turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just goes to show the kind of the anger and the frustration and solidarity that was there. And and I mean, that's not it's not talking about like the internal issues of like wording and this communist or whatever. Like it was another crazy time on top of that. But as you said, like it's called Irish Call for Justice in Palestine, and essentially that's what it is. I'm sure you'll probably link in the show notes to the full text.
The ad itself, I thought, I was looking at it earlier on today, and it is, even the design of it is so striking. Like, to have the text and the map of Palestine in the middle of it and the names all around the edges of it, I think it just looks really strong. Like, you could do so much with that ad in terms of, like, obviously coming from development education, you can do so much with that in terms of like just teaching people about even just that issue itself, but the ongoing problems, Yeah,
I felt it was really important that the map be included, because it really just showed the kind of the situation facing Palestinians. The map shows, Palestine, historic Palestine before partition and the UN partition plan. Then what actually happened after 700,000 Palestinians were expelled from their homeland in between 1947 and 1949. And then obviously the occupation of 1967 and then the ever-growing number of settlements and the less and less land Palestinians themselves
just
actually have control
shrinking away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably even smaller now.
Again, and I remember a lot of people at the time were using the map to kind of show. So at the time I was living in Bray, and I remember people putting Bray into the map of Palestine just to show kind of how the size difference and to make it relative to people to kind of just understand. It was a very powerful image, and I know like there was a few like that, just great idea.
I know at some point the Worker Solidarity Group, which is like the anarchist organization here, they kind of did a variant on it, which was like if this was Ireland, and showed like how much.
Yeah, I think I saw that one too. Actually, now that you say it,
in proportion, yeah.
Powerful message.
Yeah. So I mean, but the text itself, I mean, there's basically a very, very short history of Palestine, and then a kind of a brief overview of the current situation, and then the demands, which are, most of them are aimed at the Irish government to stop the arms trade, stop its arms trade with Israel, to act against the construction of illegal settlements, to call for the expulsion of Israel from the Euromed agreement, which is I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of it, but it's an agreement between Israel and the EU that grants Israel kind of special like tariff-free trading.
Okay.
I know it's really exciting stuff, isn't it?
Look, there's plenty of people who would appreciate that detail. I know that much.
Yeah. But Article 2 of that, kind of conditions the agreement on respect for human rights and democracy, I think is exact words, which it says is an essential part of this agreement. But obviously, it's not essential at all, because Israel has never been suspended, never mind expelled from this, despite its daily breaches of, or daily human rights violations or breaches of international law, all recognised by the European Union and by the Irish government. But hey, there's a lot of hand-wringing going on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then, the last line is aimed at people in Ireland, calling them to boycott Israeli goods and services until Israel fulfills its obligations under international law, which, is still a demand of the movement. All of those, by the way, are still demands of the movement. Just looking, I gave it a quick, I haven't looked at this really in any depth in 12 years or whatever. Even though I sent you guys on the thing, I didn't study it really or anything. But just going through the names on it, there's a lot of well-known people like Robert Ballard, Donald Lunny, Christy Moore, and then a few TDs, one of whom listeners will probably recognise the name now is Michael D. Higgins, who is now President of Ireland. Was at one time actually a patron of the IPSC back when we had patrons.
Yeah.
and it's like Mary Lou McDonald is there, Jerry Adams, what's his name? Darragh O'Brien, who I think now is the Minister for Housing. Is that correct?
Oh, I thought you meant Darragh O'Brien, the comedian.
Oh, no, no, no.
Darragh
O'Brien, TD.
The housing minister.
Yeah. Chris Andrews, who was a Fianna Fáil TD at that time, is now Sinn Féin, and a whole bunch of other kind of Ivana Bacik, and just a whole bunch of like other political figures.
There's some connection of names, though, for sure.
Yeah, then a bunch of trade union people. But really, like the most striking thing about it is just like the vast majority of those people are just ordinary people that just said like, yeah, I'll
reacting to the situation.
I'll give you €100, and it's important that other people see this message. So it was a really interesting thing to do. We've never done anything like it before or since. I mean, I think it was based on the amount of calls and stuff that we got afterwards, and the amount of hate mail and stuff.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. That was actually going to be one of my questions, because as I mentioned previously, like, this is such a polarizing issue for some people. Anything to do with Palestine and Israel, it really is. And I was going to ask you, clearly there was lots of support based on just the list of names that are there in the ad, but what was the main reaction? Obviously there would have been backlash too, so what were the reactions to it?
Yeah, I mean, like, overwhelmingly positive. People ringing or emailing the office saying fair play. A lot of people wanting to make donations to Palestine, to charities and stuff. Like, a lot of people, well, I say a lot, like maybe 10, 12 people that thought we were like a charity and wanted to give us money, and then you're like, no,
that's the thing. People want to do something practical that they can I've given to this,
Yeah, but we're not a charity, and we don't do direct aid to Palestine or anything like that. So you just direct them to organisations that do. But pushback, I mean, there wasn't a lot. There was some kind of nasty emails and that, but that's like, I hesitate to say it's standard, but like we get a lot of that kind of stuff. And when something like this happens, you can see like the volume increases, and then subsides.
Well, it's right there in the public eye, it's hard to avoid it, I suppose. Yeah.
So, I won't say any of the things that they called us, but
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are unrepeatable in polite company. But like I said, that's it's just par for the course for the work that we do. And I'm sure anyone that's engaged in not just in this issue, but other issues where there are like really strong feelings on both sides, that's it's just normal. And at a certain point, I mean, I've been in the job then a year and a half or something like that. No, actually, what am I saying? Sorry, no, it was actually just about 8 months. But I've been involved in the IPSC since 2002, like, so none of this was new to me, and it's just like, just take it on the chin and move on. Like, it's not, never really felt like someone was going to carry through on the threats that were made, or whatever. It just
comes with the territory. Yeah,
exactly. So but like, overwhelmingly the response was hugely positive, and people still talk about this, or they talk in hallowed tones about this. No, not like that, but it still comes up. It's just, I remember you guys had that advert in the paper. Would you be thinking about doing something like that again? And I'm nearly crying, going, "Oh, that nearly destroyed me." Like,
the stress of that.
Oh yeah. Like, no, I mean, it was a particular time, a particular moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying it can never be done again, but like, I think it's
hard to replicate that, and then you're putting a certain amount of pressure on something that clearly was so successful and got such a good reaction. Then, like, you're kind of, I don't know, expectations are even more heightened then, and I don't know, as you say, it's pressure and it's stress, and and like, it was what it was for the time that it was.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the efficacy probably decreases if like, well, certainly, if we did it now again, possibly, but the more you repeat something, then the efficacy decreases. So it's like, they have another ad, where why don't they do other things or whatever, So, and like, we're not particularly interested in taking out adverts in Irish Times. We're more interested in doing the activism that we do, of which this was one small part.
The day-to-day stuff. Yeah. And so just to ask you about the boycott and divestment stuff, do you feel like the boycott movement has gained a good bit of traction since that point? Do you think it needs to be ramped up more? Just I suppose, a general reflection on where it stands now.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know even know how you can measure that kind of thing, but I suppose from feedback and talking to people and that kind of thing. I know it's something that I'm conscious of, but I would be maybe more aware.
yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's important to remember, I think, that like in early 2009, like the boycott movement, or the call that came from Palestine, from the Palestine BDS movement, was only like 3.5 years old at that stage. So like it wasn't widely known and whatnot. But I really think that this assault on Gaza kind of galvanized people in support of it. Like I think a lot of it is due to like the inaction of like especially Western governments to what happened. Like I can quote human rights reports at you, I can tell you to go and read X, Y, and Z or whatever, right? Oh, it's all out there. It's not controversial that horrendous things were done during this assault. Like from the UN to Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, whatever, B'Tselem, the Israeli group. But the point is, nothing was ever done about it by anyone. No one has faced justice for these appalling war crimes. So when it becomes clear that, you know, despite huge public opposition, not just in Ireland, but like all over the world, there were huge protests. I talk about Western governments because we live in a Western democracy. We're a part of the EU. And it's not to let other states off the hook, but just that's the perspective I'm talking from.
That's your perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, that these Western governments who claim to be all about the rule of law, democracy, human rights, international law, and so on, well, you know, where's the evidence that they actually believe in any of that stuff? BDS, on the other hand, gives ordinary, everyday people a channel to divert their anger and their solidarity, their love, all that kind of stuff towards trying to, in some way, help the Palestinian struggle for freedom. BDS is not in and of itself going to end like Israel's oppression of Palestinian people, but it can play a role, just like the global boycott campaign against apartheid South Africa played a role. But like it didn't end it.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a significant role, and you know, even the leaders of the freedom movement in South Africa, like Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu, Ronnie Kasrils, all these people, like they acknowledged that the power and even above the symbolic and the whatever economic and cultural power there was in that, it was the fact that South Africans knew that they weren't alone. To Black South Africans, like knew that they weren't alone.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say it's important to it's that reaching out, and it's that knowing that somebody else is out there standing with you on this.
Yeah, and I mean just to say, like, whether BDS has grown, like it's unquestionably has grown since then, because as I said, like it wasn't really well known then, and now we're at a stage where the Israeli state is pumping like millions and millions of dollars every year to fight BDS, to what's the phrase they used, to civilly assassinate BDS leaders. Yeah, no, like it's black propaganda and whatnot, you know, dirty tricks. Obviously, you know, like again, like we're used to this, but the efforts have ramped up. There are now, you know, like attempts to kind of criminalize Palestine solidarity activism, you know, with states that strongly support Israel moving towards these measures, like in the US. We'll see what a Biden presidency means there, but certainly under Trump.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have a lot of hope in the Biden administration on Palestine, but I don't hope it won't be as bad as the Trump administration, which was like an unmitigated disaster for Palestinians.
Absolutely. Well, sending wasn't it Jared Kushner? Wasn't he given the job to sort everything out?
Yeah. You know, I mean, like essentially under Trump, the rule of even the pretense of the rule of law was discarded, and the rule of power and might just became the reality. It was like, well, we can do this, so we're doing it. Yeah. And you know, I mean, that's dangerous, not just for Palestinians. That's dangerous for everybody who believes in human rights and international law, because if you can do it in Israel, then you can do it anywhere. You just say, well, no, we have bigger guns, so tough luck.
Once that precedent is set, then
exactly. So I mean, that's kind of I guess my thoughts on BDS. Well, I would encourage all your listeners to get involved in BDS, and you don't have to get involved in the Ireland Palestine Solidarity Campaign, but you just there's like Academics for Palestine, Students for Justice in Palestine, Trade Union Friends of Palestine. There's so many different avenues for people if that want to get involved, and I would encourage people to do so.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, just while you're talking there, something that just popped into my head was the movie Five Broken Cameras. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And it just gives a really good insight as to what people are dealing with. Well, from my opinion, I mean, you might disagree, but I definitely thought it was a really interesting insight.
Yeah, no, it's a really great film because it's not like how do I put this? It's not like hard politics.
Yeah.
It's the story of
literally this fella and his camera.
Yeah, exactly. And it was nominated for an Oscar and everything. So even that.
Yeah.
And
they were denied access, weren't they, when they arrived at the airport in America for the Oscars?
I think Michael Moore had to intervene or something, and I think he got there in the end. But it's like 5 years ago now or something, so I don't really remember.
No, but yeah, just to mention that for people
great film. Definitely check it out. I think you can probably stream it.
It's on YouTube.
Is it? Yeah.
On YouTube. I have a feeling. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling it's on YouTube. My last question that I'm going to ask you, and then I will leave you with that, is: do you have any advice for others who are doing this type of thing, who are campaigning, or who are looking for an in, or just not necessarily knowing where to start or where to begin? Do you have any advice or tips, or who's saying, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do or where to start?
Where to start?
No pressure.
Yeah. No, I mean, where to start is like, what are the what are the concerns that you have? What interests you? Is it in the environment? Is it Western Sahara? Is it Palestine? Is it EU trade? Because there are organizations that deal with all of these things. And so I would suggest, what's your passion? And then, like, once you understand that, then you try and find an organization that fits your, what you're particularly interested in. And of course, if there's not one there, I mean, like, the Ireland Palestine Solidarity Campaign didn't always exist. Like, it had to be created. So, yeah. and like all these organizations, Kolov or whatever, like they didn't just magic into existence. So, try to create one. There are people that can help give advice on, all the boring administration stuff, wherever, constitutions and all that kind of stuff, which, I've helped groups out with this kind of stuff because
it's all part and parcel of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years now, and like I have, or it's not just me, like, but people, that have been around a long time have all this experience of setting stuff up. But what I really would say is, like, struggles aren't won in a day. They may not be won in a year. They may not be won in 10 years. They may not be won in 50 years, but they have to be won, because we need a world that's just that we can, like, be proud of. What's the say? Like, you should try and leave the world in a better place than when you arrived into it. So, I mean, I think that's really, and even if you don't win, if you're annoying all the right people, well, then that's good too, because those people should be annoyed by the little people as they see them.
Yeah. So,
I mean, a friend of mine once said to me that life is a struggle, but that's a good thing. And I kind of agree, that, like, if you're not struggling for something in life, then, you're kind of resigned to, like, just doing nothing and letting things go on the way they are. And in, what I say now, 50 years, if we don't turn the clock back on, like, global warming, and then, we're we're not going to be in a good place.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So that's my advice. I mean, I can't say it's good advice or the best advice, but that's what I have to say.
No, well, it's appreciated. Absolutely. I definitely think there's some good advice in there for anyone not knowing where to start, for sure. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to chat to me today. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed engaging with you on this, and thank you for your contribution to the exhibition as well. It was a great piece to have in there among the other pieces. That was the only one that you contributed, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well,
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's the curse of the compulsive archiver, is I just had like all this stuff is still just in the office. And like I first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show today. But I'd also like to really thank you guys for putting on the exhibition in the first place. I think I told you in an email, it was like the last event I went to. Sorry, the second last event I went to.
I know, the last public outing.
Yeah,
like, it's just insane when you think about it now.
Yeah, before the pandemic. And,
before we've all been locked down.
Yeah, but it was a really a mighty exhibition, and like
we made it by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, I know. But like I felt so kind of inspired coming out of it, like, because there's like a lot of stuff in there, that we now in 2021 now, but you know, that's kind of inspirational to us, and to see, like, especially the stuff around the anti-apartheid, the Irish anti-apartheid movement, which is like a big inspiration for. In fact, some of the same people are like that set that up are involved in IPSC.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, but it was so like an honor to be in the same exhibition as a lot of these things, you know.
Well,
yeah, really, thank you.
Certainly music to my ears. Thank you. It's nice to hear that.
And everyone should check it out online, because it's up there online for everyone to see.
Oh, good. Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, I'm doing your promo for you. You can tell I listen to a lot of podcasts.
The brown paper envelopes.
Yeah.
Post, yeah.
And you can follow me on Twitter on this, and my Patreon is this. And I don't have a Patreon or a Twitter. But if you do want to follow IPSC on Twitter, we're at IPSC48. And we're on Facebook, and our website is www.ipsc.ie.
Right, there you go. Kevin, thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Look after yourself, all right?
I will. You too. Stay safe.
Take care. Thanks again to Kevin for joining us, our very first guest on the podcast, and what an object to start with too. It was great to chat to Kevin again, most especially because it was during lockdown and it was someone outside of my own four walls. But seriously, it was a pleasure. Watch this space for our next episode with a very special guest.